You need to turn it on.
Is it working now? Can you hear me now? Perfect.
Yes, it's great.
All right, guys, welcome. This is just the first gentle reminder just to find your seats. We'll be starting roughly around 5 to 7.5 minutes. So if you're already here, fantastic. So we'll grab a water or something. We'll start 5 to 7 minutes. All right, hello. Good evening, everyone. It is time to ring in the new year. I've already done that, but I think this time we're ringing in 122, session 122 of WarsawJS. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sasha Farbach, and I think before we begin, I just want to, thank all the people around here who've organized this. They've done an incredible job. I know that 122 meetings is a lot, but it's the first of the year. So also welcome to those who've come here today. And also thank you for those online watching. And I think we're going to try to have a very good time here. So for those newcomers here, welcome for the first time. A little bit about maybe a secret I have to tell you. It is my first time here today. So I'm a little nervous to be here amongst such tech talent. Thank you so much. Yeah. And also thank you, an applause to all you guys for joining us here. So WarsawJS, the community, and I think just a brief point, this is a cool thing. A little bit, another confession from me. I worked for cybersecurity in the past, but I'm not an engineer, but I'm always really impressed by these kind of community events. And I think WarsawJS is no exception in that. What I've already found by people who are here, it is a very welcoming community, and I think it's very international as well. So I think that, for me, as a newcomer, is very impressive. So thanks for having me for this. I'll be guiding you through this. So about WarsawJS. So it's about community, and I think this is one thing, this is so important. Rather, if you're new to this whole thing, if you're already experienced in JavaScript, I think sharing experience is really key, and I think that's what this community is all about. This is why we're here. This is why we're doing these events and in different formats. So you have access, you can share that information, no matter where you come from, no matter who you are, no matter what level you are, because I think that is the essence of sharing this kind of technology, to share that. I know it's gone very corporate. If you look out there, I used to work in sales for cybersecurity, and it's a jungle out there. And I was at RSAC, which maybe some of you might know, in San Francisco, and just told a little story about this, that started also as a community, sharing things, problems, and it's turned into this massive beast. But at the essence, it was about community. So I think that's something really important about coding. You know that already. You know that. So I'm just going to say it one more time. So also, what does WarsawJS do? It's also about meetups. It's about different types of conferences. Some of you have attended these. It's meeting 122. There's more, of course, on the horizon. It's also about workshop. It's sharing information. So no matter how and where, there's always this place and space for you to gain information, to share knowledge, and I think that's really key here. And I know that there's some wonderful people behind this, wonderful people who are here, open. It's a space for you to be welcome, to ask, to learn, to reach out. No matter if that's a medium in these kind of formats or conferences or maybe just on Slack, it's about sharing information, community. I think that's really vital. So here are just some of the points that I mentioned that is available from WarsawJS. Right, so the mission here, I've already repeated, it's about really connecting novice professionals, about people with experience, and to really build that community so we can all thrive. It's also very open. I know that it's connected to anyone, no matter where you're from, no matter what your level is. The Berlin Berlin Code of Conduct is something in its DNA. So again, this is something about openness, about inclusivity. So we're here to welcome everyone, no matter where you're from. And it's not just Poland, it's not just Warsaw, which is, in my mind, one of the fantastic cities of our time, but it's also about international community, reach out, connectivity. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So this guy, that's me, just a little bit about myself. I work in media and television. So, but I'm still, every time I'm super nervous doing these sort of things. So that's all you need to know about me. Some of these people here behind this wonderful organization are around. I think you'll probably recognize the faces. So I know that during this meetup, you might have a chance to chat with them and meet them. And I think that's also a really, really nice opportunity. This can't be done without volunteers. And I think let's just give them all an applause. Let's just have a round of applause to the volunteers behind all of this. This is nice when you show up, but there's a lot of work behind this, in many, many different ways. So thanks to all of these, and those are the unsung heroes of all this. This is important here. I think community is built on QR codes. Community is built on wonderful people. So if you haven't already done so, this is one of those chances, have a little click here. because that finger is pointing at all of you right now. So there's always a place, more volunteers that are needed and different things. This is a wonderful organization. There's lots of things to do, whether it's through organizing something, whether it's on social media. I know that we are very much looking for talented people in social media who want to share these events, want to talk about them, who want to broadcast them. So why don't you go ahead and give a little scan there and follow the rabbit hole and where it may lead. All right, so I'm here, but you're clearly not here to see me talk or hear me talk, but you're here for some wonderful individuals who are going to share their experiences, share their time with you about different topics, and some of those wonderful people are here today. But that doesn't mean there isn't space on this stage or any stage for you guys in the future. So there can be different topics. I think it's very much a wonderful place to practice, to share information. I know it's very daunting at times, the limelight here, but at the same time, it's really wonderful to be out here to give back, to share information. So in future, if you have any sort of cool ideas, reach out. There's another scan here for you, or just speak to some of the organizers. I think there's space for you guys to also have your moment here. And I think that's also something that feels really good. And of course, one more, maybe not a round of applause, but yeah, why not? Let's give another round of applause to our sponsors. Could make this happen without them. If you haven't already noticed, you're at Google Campus, so that's something. It's also my first time here at that. But also Campus AI, thank you very much. XFang, Monday.com, Lawmore, all these wonderful organizations. Without their support, this would not be possible. So thank you to all of the sponsors. And also our partners. That includes KMag, wonderful magazine that you might know, and also JetBrains. So this is a nice little thing I've heard and been told, that if there are any people out there who are social media savvy and might have some interesting ideas or can help us share this whole event or future events with JetBrains, there might be a nice little goodie there. So it's worth maybe also keeping that in mind for future. If you're interested, those watching online or here, there might be something there for you in the future. Right, so let's get down to it. You're here for some pretty awesome speakers. Now, unfortunately, I have to start out with a little bit of sad news. Our very, very interesting, fantastic Professor Blikle, as we've heard very short time ago, is in hospital. So he's unable to come here tonight. And that's, I think, hit all of us very hard. And it's something that we regret. We really apologize about that. But we need him healthy. He has a lot more things to do. And we are in touch with him. And as far as I understand it, we'll try to have him at a future event. And of course, on our behalf, we apologize. So all of you guys here who've paid for those tickets for the future, any kind of WarsawJS meeting that fits in your schedule, that's yours to attend. So we apologize about that. But I know we're all of us looking forward to that. But nevertheless, the show must go on. We've still got some incredible individuals. Michalczuk is here, and I have the pleasure of speaking to him earlier, and really an interesting journey, bouncing from coding to management, back and forth. I don't know how many times back and forth, but he's going to tell us all about it. And also Rafał Pocztarski, excuse my Polish, if I was able to get that correct, yeah? Good, thumbs up, awesome. So advanced TypeScript techniques to increase your abilities and frustrate users. I think there might be a joke in there, but he'll tell us about that also a little bit later. So we've got all these wonderful talks, and then also later on, we've got, followed by that, our lightning talk. And I know that Anastasiia Nortsova is also here to tell us about her journey of how she made it during job searching, the tips and tricks, and I think it was successful. She's going to share us those insights for her premiere here a bit later. So without further ado, I do think it's time to go with our very first speaker. Michał, come on up here. The floor is yours.
Mine. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Maybe. Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay, so give me a second. I have to find my presentation. It is somewhere. No, it's not that one. This is that one, but I would like to mirror the screen. So give me a second. Displays. Arrange. Okay, this is it. How many engineers does it need to find this setting? Way better. Okay. Okay, step 1 done. Second step, my presentation. Okay. Come on, who closed it? Okay, presentation without any technical issues wouldn't be a presentation, right? So, hey, imagine this. One day you're joining the meeting and you're getting the proposal to move to the leader or manager position. Like, wow, such an occasion, far, promotions, tada. But in a moment you storm questions which are brewing in your mind. Like, will I forget how to code? Will my skills become obsolete? Will I still be a technical person being a manager? Is it a good decision? And is it a one-way ticket? Or maybe not. And yeah, that's me. That's my story. I got that kind of conversation. I did it. And I did it with the assumption that it will be an experiment. And then I'm leaving myself a loophole to get back. And at that point, I was working at Atlassian as a senior software engineer, and I transitioned to a team leader position. I led a 6-people team, and I worked in this role for 15 months. And this is me. My name is Michalczuk. As you see, I don't work anymore in Atlassian. After my experiment, I got back into the software development role, and right now I am working in tech lead consulting as a engineer and as a consultant. It's a small Berlin-based consultancy agency. If you would like to talk about more, fine, later. And I'm also talking head at some Just Join IT formats, and that's about me. Actually, the whole talk is about me. So, a small disclaimer, this is all I'm sharing. It's my personal perspective and my context as a manager in Atlassian back in the days, because I've exited the company in 2022, so like 2 years ago. So I am referring to the state of the company from 2 years ago. So some context from Atlassian. To be a team leader, to be in any managerial position on the technical department, you had to be at least a senior software engineer position previously. It is a large organization. At the time, it was 8,000 employees with a multi-level hierarchy, cross-geo. I've worked with people from whole Europe, Australia, United States, India, and so on. And we were collaborating like a lot with a lot of teams. And we had really great engineering culture at the company and a huge support for the managers at every level. And as I mentioned, I've left the company like two years ago. So this is the snapshot from my memory. And a side note, when I'm mentioning manager, I'm referring to the roles in which we have the direct reports. How much corporate does it sound? That's the definition for me for today. Okay, so what was exactly my role? I was a team leader, but what is behind the team leader term? The scope of duties and responsibilities can vary from the company to the company. So let's take a look at the entire spectrum of the technical roles. We have 3 main areas. We have the building software part, the strategy and alignment, and the people management. That green circles, it represents the roles with people management. Those are the managerial roles in which we have the people that report to you, as I mentioned. And here, those 2 roles, the tech lead manager and the engineering manager, then can be a bit confusing. And if you hear that someone is a team leader, it's mostly one of those two roles, and they vary a bit. Let me share the difference with you. So the tech lead manager, this is the person responsible mainly for the technology, like for the specific system or the piece of system, and that person still writes the software themselves, but they're more likely to distribute the work across the others, but still doing some handwork on their own. The right one, the engineering manager, is responsible mainly for the development of the people and their work and the strategy and so on. What to add? In the middle, you have the red zone, beware, and this is mainly the place where most of the CTOs or the technical founders on the early stage are. But this topic is way not about it. But this is totally the beware zone. Be afraid to be there. Okay, so as we've mentioned these roles, I must add here that the managerial path is not the only option for the promotion after being in a role of a senior engineer, at least in many companies. You can go down the engineering path to the staff manager, aka the architect or the principal, depends of the company. You can move between the roles of being in a manager, being in the product field, and so on, or you can just go sideways. And this is the example from the GitLab. As you see, at some point, those two paths, they go just in the parallel. The managerial path and the individual contributor, the engineering master path, as we might call them. But getting back here to the diagram, I would say that my role was the engineering manager. I had a team that was reporting to me. I was responsible for organizing their work and the team strategy, the team goals, the team development. I was also technically representing the team outside of the team, outside of the organization, sometimes outside of the company, because we had a lot of interaction with the partners. I was working in the ecosystem organization, and I was making some top-level technical decisions with the support, or in general, based on the team's proposal. So I was the final voice while making the decision, but the team was responsible for bringing decisions, and I was fully backed by them. What I didn't done anymore, I wasn't writing the code by myself anymore. But I also wasn't alone there in this role. I mean, in leading the team and leading the project, we were doing it as a triad. So it was me as the engineering manager. It was the product manager, so the product person, the PM, and the UX, the design person. And my team was also part of the bigger organization and so on, so I also wasn't alone there. And getting back to the roles itself, like you might ask, what role owns what? The smaller the company, the more responsibility is centered on a one role or even one person. I worked on a pretty large company, so that was my point of view. I was responsible for how, as a team, we could achieve the goal and when. And in a nutshell, right? It was in a nutshell because I have way more responsibilities. And while I was initially preparing this presentation, I've put all of the brain dump of all of the responsibilities I had back in the days. And I decided, okay, I won't talk about those stuff. And this is the full list. I accidentally end up with the topic, all of the topics I had to deal with as an engineering manager. So it was mainly the communication, the team members' development, the hiring, choosing the right strategies, yada, yada. So all of text, but I found it pretty funny that I decided to not talk about those things, which was the crucial part of my journey as a engineering manager. So what was the journey, you might ask? At the very beginning, I started with only 2 people with whom I was previously working in other team. Then the team grew to the 6 people. So it was really nice start. In the parallel, I started doing the internal upskilling course, the Atlassian Apprentice Manager. It took 3 months with the commitment of like 5 to 6 hours per week, a lot of offline materials, a lot of live sessions, role plays with HR department, with other managers, yada yada. It was really great support, and it was soft start because during this upskilling course, I could just do a step back and decide, hey, it's not my thing. Fuck it, I'm not doing it, and I could get back to my individual contributor role. As you see in the very beginning, the team was like super small, so I was able to do it easily. And it's a pretty common practice in the big tech that you have the soft start. But also at the very beginning, the word manager, like it just didn't represent me. However funny it sounds, it was really hard for me to say that I am the manager of the team Unbox. Like, I am the, I am leading the team Unbox. Super silly, but yeah, that was it. And the initial reaction for all of the courses that I watched or read as a part of the upskilling program was, that's bullshit. It's all super vague, like give me the real work to do. But in the end, it was very concrete and helpful knowledge. But for an engineer with the engineering mindset, it was super bullshit initially. And at the time, I was writing some code, I was doing some technical specs, but when the topics multiplied and the team grew, I just had to let it go. And I started to asking myself, what am I even delivering? Like, why am I here? Like, what's my role? And that sense of delivering, that gratification, it was super delayed because previously, it was hard. It was really hard because previously, my feedback loop as an engineer was like days and weeks. And now it turned into months and years. I had the team, to give you some context, I've led that team for 15 months. It was me plus the 6 people. And I think that overall, it took like 2 years for the team to finish the initial version of the extension we were doing, right? So that gratification was so delayed. Yeah, and what was tough as well for me in the beginning, that suddenly I had a ton of smaller topics and a lot of context switching. It was hard for me to find the time for the big important things, and a lot of reactive work, which is just awful. That's all. And I felt that I'm starting to drifting away from the technical details and at the code level. And And the worst thing was that we had a lot of really good technical challenges to face. And I have to give it back to the people in my team, right? I couldn't pick it up by myself as an engineer, which I really wanted to do initially. But this is the important one. Now the center of the gravity shifted from me as the individual contributor, the IC, to my team. And realizing that really helped me to put all of the things in the boxes and be good with myself again and what I'm actually delivering in the company and for the company. So what gave me satisfaction as a manager when I understood it? The team successes, the new releases, the innovations introduced, the blog posts that the team published, and so on. When I saw that the team sees the goal and contributes to the goal and have the purpose in what they're doing. When the team grow in the organization, when the team members grow, when it becomes independent, and then when the team become more and more independent, I finally had the time to do my work, so my own innovations, my strategic work, and so on. And in general, when you see that your team thrive, it's a sign that you're doing the good work as a manager. And please note, everything, as you see, it revolves around the team, not about you as a manager. And there is one more important thing. And as I mentioned, I felt really good when I understood it. That second thing is the impact. I always thought that as an engineer, I have a great impact on the organization because I am the person who builds stuff, right? But now the whole team is working on the stuff. Right now, there is the whole team who's helping me to achieve this impact. So I had way greater impact as a manager than I had as a single developer. Okay, so I'm praising it much, right? So why did I went back to work as a developer? I really enjoyed working as a manager. It was really fun. My team was very satisfied. My coworkers, my management was really satisfied. But I've missed the hands-on. I've missed building things. I've missed designing things. I just missed being an engineer and working as an engineer. And I remember the very moment when I was preparing for one of the Śniadanie z Programowaniem episodes. It was the breakfast news show about front-end and back-end we used to record with Just Join IT a few years ago. And I was reading this very article by Ryan Carniato, the creator of SolidJS, about the inconsistency of the local state management in the various front-end frameworks. And it hit me like, damn, for so long, I didn't pay attention and even work on the so low-level details. And suddenly it hit me that, damn it, the details of the framework of the components in React become so super low-level for me that I'm not, anymore connected to it, to the technicalities, and I'm really like doing deep technical dives. It's just my thing. And it's really fine and expected for you as a manager to mainly work on the whiteboard level, on the interactions level, on the systems level, not pay attention to such details, unless you're, I don't know, having the React core team or stuff like that. But for me personally, that was the point where I knew that I'm really missing playing with all the messy, dirty details of the development, and that I love those deep dives, and I want to get them back. So I did. So I got back to the role of engineer. But what did I learn during my experiment? Was it a success? So I learned that it's not about you, it's about the team. Like always, regardless of the role that you have, you're a manager or you're the IC, doesn't matter. It's always about the team. I've learned how to better handle my time and my tasks. I've learned that sometimes, especially when you're evaluating other people's work, it's effort over the results. Because the results, they can be very independent from the person, and the person might not have an impact on the results. So the effort is very, very important while evaluating other people. I've learned that feedback, safety, and the purpose are the foundations of the healthy team. One more time, regardless of the role. And that the manager is not the accountant. And if that's how it works in your company, I think it's just missing the point. And final thing, that it's not a one-way ticket. There is a possible to do the step back into the engineering role one more time. Even within the same organization, I know people who have returned from the managerial role to the developer role in the same company. It's way easier if the company is big, because we can just switch the team, switch the organization. So the bigger, the easier to do the step back in the same company. Sorry. And after my transition back to being the engineer, what changed for me? Well, the role, as you know, the size of the company. I've changed the 8,000 people company to like 12 people company, from the multi-level hierarchy to the flat structure, and from the building own products. I was working in Jira, then I was working in Atlassian ecosystem organization, to like basically outsourcing, so consulting field. And it took me like a month to get back to working as a developer, like writing code and so on, and feel comfortable about it. But it took me like a half year to feel comfortable one more time in the individual contributor role and working in a small company in the flat structure and so on. I'm putting it in the one box because I have no idea how much, what are the wages of those things. But it took me like 6 months to feel comfortable working in the new company. Yeah, if you would like to chat about details, catch me after. And in the end, I have a few tips for you if you're starting to work as a manager, or maybe you're considering it. Is it for me? Is it way back? So the first thing, you're not alone. Hopefully, you're not alone as a manager. So talk to the other managers. They probably have the same issues as you have, or they had it previously. Have a regular one-on-ones with your team, with your supervisor. Don't let things fall between the cracks. Be open for the feedback, however hard it can be from time to time. And it's not about you anymore. It's about the team. If the team is delivering and performing well, you're doing the right job. Keep that in mind. And is it worth it? Was it worth it for me, that experiment? From my experience, yes, I got new skills, new perspective. I definitely grew in that role. And you can always get back to the engineering role, at least after the 15 months, as I did. Please catch me later and give me the feedback. What do you think about this talk? I'm really, really curious. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. You can find all of the materials here.
Stay. Because first of all, also thank you, because I know that maybe not everyone knows this. You've come a long way here, not just in your career, but quite physically.
From Gdańsk, like 3 hours by train.
Let's give this man a hand. He came all the way here to give us this presentation. And as we're sharing here, I think this is also a great moment. We have time for a couple questions. So at this point, we just want to open it up to everybody. If anyone has any questions for Michał? Yeah, okay. I think first was up here. We have a microphone. It's coming to you now.
So one thought I had after listening to the presentation was, wouldn't tech lead be a perfect position for you? Because it's kind of best of both worlds.
Oh yeah, like actually, when I posted that I will be today on the WarsawJS, Piotr Karawka, we had a very short conversation in the comments, and I actually said that very thing, that I would totally consider getting back to the managerial role as a tech lead.
Yeah, even though I work in a small company, we have tech lead, and like it's demanding role, but I feel it would be good for you because you can still write code, but you still have big impact on decisions, especially in smaller companies. I don't want to talk too much to give other
Fully agree. I also think it can be the sweet spot for me. Yes, thank you. We have more
Thanks
questions.
for the one thing over here. Yeah, one more.
Yeah, it was a great talk. Thank you, Michał. Actually, my question is a little bit related and was taken by the previous questioner. I wanted to ask you whether you landed up in this beware zone, because in the smaller companies, usually within 12 people, kind of you have to have like.
I never was in the beware role. No.
I just in this current setup with 12 people, you kind of only do coding and nothing else.
Actually, we're building a product for a customer. Yeah, a product for a customer. You know how it is. I cannot share all of the things. I'm working there as an engineer, but if you recall or you're familiar with the archetypes of the software engineers, I worked as a product engineer. So I'm very much involved into the whole product development.
The business part.
The business part, yes. And I build it as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we'll take one more. One more? You're good for one more?
Yep,
Right.
sure.
Always ladies first, I think. It's always ladies first.
Ooh.
Thank you. So you mentioned that being a manager, you missed the part where you were a senior developer, etc. When you came back to senior, to developing, to coding, basically, did you miss managing? And what exactly did you miss? Thank you.
This is a very good question. I was super annoyed. It sounds funny, but I was super annoyed by the fact that now I have to one more time mess up with all of those dirty coding things. Like I had to one more time do all of those boring, lazy stuff which we do like for a lot of time, right? Be honest, our work is not always exciting and doing the top-notch things. It also contains a lot of things that I consider quite boring, and I was really annoyed by that initially. And yeah, if there is something that I was missing, was that was the fact that for longer time I had the privilege to omit all of those details. But on the one end, like there are two wolves in me. One wolf really missed those details. The second wolf was really annoyed by the fact that I have to do it one more time. But do I regret it? Sometimes. Sometimes I'm challenging myself. Was it a good decision? But I think it was a good decision. At the moment, I think it was a good decision.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you so much. So, of course, once again, thank you so much for that. One more round of applause. And of course, you're here still.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
I'm still here. So please catch me after the talk.
Exactly right.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks again. All right, folks, this is round one. We got round two now. Our next speaker, Rafał, come up here. I think you have to find your presentation. Yeah, you can use that one. Totally fine. Okay, so. I think as we heard earlier, if it's no problems, it's not technical. Here we go. Perfect. All right.
Hello. Okay, the remote is working. Okay, hello. My name is Rafał Pocztarski, and this is, some of you may know me from Stack Overflow, actually, I don't change my old avatar because people recognize it more than my face sometimes on meetings like this. But that's enough about me. I would like to talk about some advanced TypeScript techniques to increase your builds and frustrate your users. And just a quick intro to the history of JavaScript, especially on the backend when with Node.js. We started with callbacks, and soon we got to some callback hell. You don't need to understand this code. This is just to quickly compare some few of the styles that we are using for programming. So we started with callbacks, and quickly it became pretty unreadable. So then we started using promises, which was pretty promising, and actually also led to some of the indentation hell that was known from callbacks. But when we started using async await, then it started being more elegant, but still not very readable for all of the things. Also, there's RxJS, which is also somewhat more expressive for certain tasks. There is FPTS that some people enjoy using, and it is also nice, but if it gets complicated, then it also is not very readable. Now there is FXTS, which, as you can see with those generators, with those implicit underscore functions that you yield with the yield star operator, it's much more readable than the previous examples. And also as a bonus, using the underscore means that it's incompatible with both underscore and Lodash libraries. So this is like a bonus. But soon when you combine all of those in larger code bases, you start getting functions that return types like this. And this is an actual example that I once saw. It's it's undefined there but it's not in the one line. So this is a function that returns a promise that is resolved to an observable from RxJS that just happens to contain some either of an optional type of some undefined and some error or some null somewhere else. And this is something that you sometimes get with automatically TypeScript says you have this type to handle, and then you have to you have all of the styles in the larger scope base mixed together, and it gets pretty complicated. And so I wanted to make some really simple test for myself. So I created a simple JSON, but in my test it was much larger, but this is the basic shape. So this is a list of users. Every user has an ID and a list of posts. And every post has also an ID, some content, and some number of likes. And I was testing some of the styles of programming with this data, but much larger. It was 1,000 users with each having 1,000 posts to make some comparisons. And this is two most obvious examples of how to handle if you would like to make all of the posts just uppercase. So this is a simple requirement. All of the posts that user wrote needs to be changed to uppercase. And the first one is something that I think most of the inexperienced users would be the first idea how to do it. You just loop through all of the users. For each user, you loop through all of the posts, and you just, the post content, set it to post content to uppercase. So this is really simple, 2 loops, nothing fancy. But it doesn't seem like very, idiomatic, doesn't seem like very sophisticated, very functional. It is like mutating everything. So we might want to use some immutable data, some better types, some maps and higher order functions or something like this. So more experienced people usually will get this data return something that is mapped over using map. You change the with the splat operator. This looks very nice. I sometimes write code like this. I see a lot of code like this, but there is like one difference, and also it looks like TypeScript, looks like JavaScript. The first one looks like the same as like Java or C or something. And as the old story goes, a real programmer can write Fortran in any language. So this might be a good example of that. But I wanted to compare how this works in practice, because as you can see, all of the splat operators actually create new objects every time you use them. So the memory allocation has to happen, then the garbage collector has to free them. And for larger code, larger data, it gets to be first of all slower, and then you use much more memory. So comparing just those two examples, one is like just mutating it in place, and other is actually creating all of those new objects and all of the new arrays we're using map. And also what's important is that it's asynchronous. So the garbage collector doesn't even have any time to work until it's finished. So all of the allocations has to use the memory, and only later, when the garbage collector has some chance to work, then something of it might be freed. So I made some comparisons for 1,000 users, 1,000 posts, using something like this. I read all of this JSON to memory, so I didn't want to measure exactly like it has to be loaded anywhere. And then I tried to use the functions from the previous slides like 0 times to like have some basic idea of, without using those transformations, how much memory do I use, 10 times and 100 times. And what's interesting, this is the two functions are number 1 and number 2. And just for comparison, the number 0 here is wrote the same code in Go to see how like a lower level language would compare, but still garbage collector language. So I wouldn't like to compare it like to Rust or Zig or C. And what's interesting is that the first naive, like beginner style of JavaScript is actually not using much more memory than a Go implementation. But that second style is using much more memory and much more time. So if you have like 100 of those operations, and this is like not very complicated, we often transform data in much more complicated way than just like setting one string to uppercase. As you can see, like having like 247 megabytes in Go and only just 325 megabytes for the first implementation in total for the 100 iterations. I was actually quite surprised, because this is like a current version of Node.js. I didn't use Dino, I didn't use Ban. So I was surprised how well actually Node manages memory here. But when you use the second implementation, for the 100 iterations, you get like almost gigabyte of RAM used. So you can imagine that, for example, you might have, I don't know, 500 megabytes limit of your, of your process in Kubernetes or something. And then it will just crash, because at some point, this was using the peak memory usage using the time command with -L option. And this is not, probably the process would not use this memory all the time, but when it peaks at some point and it is above the limit of, for example, your cloud provider or Kubernetes or something like this, or ulimit in Linux, then it will get terminated and the services started restart, and you need to basically pay for larger server or something like this. So this have some consequences. So as I think that probably many people will think that the second version is more elegant, more idiomatic, more functional, more, a lot of advantages. There is some cost that we pay of using this, especially if you have a lot of those in a larger code base. And it's easy to like accumulate all of those little few megabytes more, and then you have like a simple service that takes hundreds of megabytes of RAM. And there is really not much to do about it, because the whole idea is that we are creating so much of new allocations of memory, and we usually don't think about memory allocation in language with automatic memory allocation. That's the whole point. We have garbage collector to take care of it. But if we completely not think about it, then the garbage collector can really have hard time working. And so this is like the real example of running very simple code and taking a lot of memory. And now the question is the map version with higher order functions with functional style, is it better than for loops? In what way better? Is it worth the cost? Because if it is better in some way, for example, one might argue that it's good to have immutable code, it's good to have maybe more readable code for some definitions of readable, and also maybe some tooling, some tools or libraries are easier to use using the functional style, but it is not free. It has some cost in terms of, for example, memory usage in this example, and this cost can be non-trivial for some cases. And another, what is the cost? Because here the cost was the CPU, and as going back to the results, it was not only that the second functional style took almost a gigabyte of RAM instead of less than 1/3 of gigabyte, but also it took 23 seconds of time instead of 6 seconds. So it's not only you need more memory, so more expensive servers, but also you need more time, so probably you need even more of those servers to split the load so that your users don't complain that they have to wait longer. So there are some costs, and also the costs are CPU, memory, runtime speed, also compilation time, because this is not this is often overlooked. But when we work, sometimes we have compiling the code a lot of time during the day, and every time it's there's a huge difference. If I start a new build and it takes 20 seconds, and I'm not even losing focus. I'm just looking at while it compiles, and then I'm continue working. But if I know that it takes 5 minutes, then I will go grab some coffee, maybe start talking to someone, get distracted, and then I need to context switching. Maybe I'll try to do something else in this time. Then I forget about, I'm not in the zone anymore. So there is also the compilation time, I think, is important. Also, what are some other costs? There are some costs of readability, because if a lot of people are using different styles, then some new people are joining teams, and as we heard about it rightly so on the previous presentation, focusing on the team, you not only write for yourself, but you also write for your teammates to understand the code that you are writing. Maintainability, because if every time you are using different abstractions, if you are mixing RxJS with FPTS, maybe there are some incompatibilities. Maybe you need to update more libraries. You need to focus on security, because using more dependencies means that you need to update the versions more frequently. Also, there is the comprehensive visibility, if there is such a word. So that how easy it is to comprehend really how the visibility is related to the way you can comprehend actually what is going on, because some of those examples, I think, and FPTS has this tendency, it is very theoretically it is very elegant, but every time I look at some more complicated code base using FPTS, it is not that I just can look at one place at a time. I need to understand the entire idea of what is it actually doing, and it is not such obvious as looking at as easy imperative style like the first example that we use with for loops. And also what I noticed preparing for this presentation, at the last time, just before I left to drive here, I thought that, oh, maybe let's add some FXTS example to those tests. It would be interesting to have some more some more comparisons, and but not having any time to do it really myself, I asked ChatGPT to maybe translate the other examples to using FXTS. And every time I try to do it, and try to do it multiple times with ChatGPT from OpenAI, by Grok from X, and by Copilot, every code that they generated didn't even compile. So I mean, the AI is unable to write working FXTS code for some reason, and this is so I like invented the term artificial intelligibility as some way of thinking how your choices of technology adds another cost that is not to be overlooked today, that can you use the modern tools like AI to help you develop the code? If you are choosing the tools that the AI don't understand, they cannot write the code, they cannot refactor it, then you are losing one of the tools that you can use otherwise. So as AI is really amazing with JavaScript and TypeScript, I mean, I think those are most of the languages that are used in all of the documentations on Stack Overflow. So there's a lot of material to train the AI on them. For some reason, using FPTS also and effect, as I said, is very hard for them to write code that I didn't even want it to work well, but it just at least to be able to be compiled. And there was like syntax error, some imports that didn't work, and I tried it multiple times and failed to do it. So that's when there is no example on effect. But this is something to be think about, because once when you are choosing the technology or even style of using the technology, because like using the second example wasn't using any new libraries, there was no like RxJS mixed with effect and FPTS or something like this. It was just idiomatic plain JavaScript or TypeScript, but still might be arguably more or less readable. So this is something that we need to think about, especially working with larger teams. Also, maintenance would be maybe easier, maybe harder, depending on which style you are using. It's easier or harder to understand by people, but also I don't see it like talked about very much, but I think it is important and will get even more important. It can be easier or harder to understand by artificial intelligence. So, so this is something that when choosing this wrong style, or like, I mean, wrong, it's everything is like has some pros and cons, but wrong from the point of view of artificial intelligence. If the AI cannot help you work, then you lose one of the tools that you might use otherwise. And also, I would be interested if maybe there will be later some time for questions and some conversations. What good but costly techniques do you use that, for example, you know that it uses more RAM or more CPU cycles, it's slower, but it's for some reason better in your opinion? For example, I don't know, something, maybe it's safer, maybe it's type safe, but or maybe it's immutable or something like this. So I would be interested to know if you are like consciously using some techniques or libraries that you know that have some runtime costs, maybe compilation time costs, maybe memory overhead, but you still use it for some reason. And what is this advantage that you are factoring in? What is the cost that you are willing to take on yourself? And is it worth it? And some of the, yeah, that's basically this. So this is my presentation. And if you have some questions, you can find me on some social media if you want and talk to me later. But I would really like to hear some of you having experience with like knowingly using techniques that either makes it harder to like for the machine or for people or for teams or for some other way, or maybe like it's just more expensive because you can always buy a larger server, but it is a cost for the company that you're working for. So maybe if there are some questions, then I'll be glad to talk to you.
First round of applause, but I think we have a question in the back. Yeah.
Hi, great presentation. I have a hypothetical scenario. Let's disregard the costs, maintainability, readability, and the question is, can we do better than for loops and Go?
Can we do better than for loops and Go?
Yeah.
I think that probably Go is. I used Go here mostly because it's. I think it would not be fair to compare to, for example, Rust or Zig or C or other low-level languages with manual memory management. So here we compiled something that has a runtime and has a garbage collector. But I think that Node is not very far from it. I was actually surprised. My idea when I started the test was that I thought that Node would use at least twice as much RAM as Go for these examples, but I was pleasantly surprised that Node is very efficient here. But it all depends. Here in this example, if I was to write something most efficient for exactly this, I would probably write something that streams the JSON from disk and like substitutes it's like on the go. You don't need to load everything in memory just to change the strings. You might write actually a set filter for it and in like in your shell for this example. But in general, it's very hard to say if you can use something like other than Go or loops in Node. But actually, when you are using Node, then using for loops, for example, when the Lodash project was started, basically because underscore was pretty slow and was not very responsive for like pull requests that make some performance improvements. And when you look at the Lodash source code, it's all loops and no fancy like mapping and methods or something like this. So because like having even nested loops, you don't have any function calls in there. You don't have memory allocations like you would having like creating new arrays, or you don't have the overhead of closures of like creating the scopes for new functions and things like this. So I don't know if you have maybe something more specific to ask about, like for what task you are asking, what would be the better? Because I guess it would be more like suited for your question. For this particular task, it could be even written in assembly, like streaming the file from disk to some other file or something, and you just checked if you are like nested enough. Once I wrote in assembly a filter like this to minify JSON, like remove the meaningless white space from JSON files, and it was quite an interesting. Like it was not like for anything useful, but just a learning experience. And I advise everyone to do something like this, to write anything in assembly, to try to read a file, to stream a file, and you could use I guess few bytes of memory just to process these tasks. But usually this is an example that usually you don't have like this single task and nothing else to do, but usually you have some data in your memory. For example, maybe you need to anonymize some of the data before you send it to some logging service, like, I don't know, maybe surnames of people, you need to like change it to stars or something, but you usually keep this thing in memory. But for things like this, I think if you already have this in memory, then I think the loops would be like using the least memory and would be the fastest. But arguably, maybe it is not elegant for someone. But we need to understand that there is a cost of this elegance. I personally enjoy like sophisticated abstractions in programming. This is like something that I like myself, like it's fun, but then some of those are we rarely think about using. I think that using the very high-level programming language, we forget about those memory allocations, forget about the bytes that are there. We forget about like how much kilobytes or megabytes your structure takes in memory. So for this, actually, I wouldn't even use Go for this probably, or not as just loading everything in memory, but try to do some streaming. But this is like contrived example that wanted to show just that everything is, there's no simple answer to anything, I guess, if that is the good answer to your question.
It sounds like there's more to this.
Before the talk, you told me that I shouldn't restrain myself from time because we have a lot of time.
But remember, I also
think
said
I
the
took
closer
it
I get
very-
to you, the more you have to make shorter sentences.
Okay. So you can just hit me or something.
This is something that I think there's going to be more follow-up on this, but we are a little bit now raced for time. So we want to have one more speaker before we do. But thank you. One more round of applause for Rafał. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to be struck by lightning. This is our lightning round. This is, I think, a premiere for Anastasiia here. She's going to share a little bit of information about, I think, how and secrets of what she learned about finding a job and all those things that I think are always useful no matter where and who you are. So that's going to be our final one before the break, folks. So there is a break up ahead with pizza. So this is our final one before the break. So let's give a big welcome, round of applause to Anastasiia for her presentation.
Okay, can you hear me? Yep. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous, obviously because my talk is before pizza, so you're kind of excited. Okay, so for this speech, I was inspired by the previous talks on the previous WarsawJS, and somebody told that it's really good to share your faults. It could help others to grow from your mistakes. So this talk about my mistakes, because I working as a developer for more than 7 years, but I was on the market maybe twice when I looking for my first job, and I was working for 3 years for one company and then for 3 years for another company. So I was not, really know how to looking for a job. And having 6 years of experience in development and 0 in job searching, I realized that I know nothing about job searching. Okay. As I understand, you can have the similar experience, technical knowledge and stuff like this, but if you don't know how to present yourself, you can not receive a great offer. It could be like you just receive rejections, or you receive a really low salary, you can cost much more if you knew how to present yourself and how to sell yourself. I will talk a little bit about my mistakes and my friends' mistakes, because I spent half a year doing an interviews, and I have a lot of data myself, and I also asked my friends what helped them to find the job and what was the failures of them during the job search. And first of them, it was lack of the system, because what I mean by that, if you don't have a system and you will have a random results. If you want to have a great offer, you need to do a spreadsheet like this. Here I counted all of my applications, and I was analyzed each application. So, for example, some of the companies, after my job search, I realized that on LinkedIn, looked like companies didn't receive, a lot of companies didn't receive your CV. So maybe they have some filters or something like this. So it could be other ways to apply to position, because LinkedIn, for me personally, was not working well. What else we can, what else data we can have from this table? We can understand, for example, if you were rejected after your application, this means, and you have no technical interviews or initial stage interviews, this means that you need to improve your CV or adapt this CV to specific position. If you were rejected mostly on the initial call stage, this means that you need to understand how to pitch yourself and how to explain what you do before, because sometimes we just don't know how to present ourselves, and we say like, oh, I do some simple tables and forms because I'm a front-end developer, so it's like my usual job, nothing special. But even if you did nothing special, you can present it as something really interesting and really great. So it could be also the point. Like if you were rejected after technical interview, it's obvious you need to improve your technical skills. And it is also a behavioral interview, usually after technical one. So you need to prepare to this specific interview if you were rejected mostly on that stage. The second one, I would say for me, it was one of the most important mistakes, being late with responses. So as I understand, some companies try to fill the position really quickly. So they would choose a good candidate, but who was the first. So for example, they were looking for somebody and they find somebody who match the criteria, and I don't know, like technical team, I like this person, they will not continue this their search because they already find a good candidate, not a perfect one, but a good, it's kind of enough. And I was also received some rejections with like, yeah, you were a good candidate, but we already filled this position, sorry. And I would say that this point, that answer as soon as possible and put the interview like as soon as possible. If you have like 3 slots during the week, choose the first one. It will help you because you will go through this process faster, and it will also show them that you are really interested in this position. Skipping your homework. What I mean by that? We need, like, before you came to the interview, you should know what company is it. You should read the description, job description, and you also should prepare your own questions because you should be really interested in this company, to know a lot about this company, to know a lot of about this job position, and to ask some specific questions. And also prepare what you will answer for common questions. This is one of those questions that you could be asked. Why do you want to work for our company? And money is like obvious, but it's not the answer for HR. You know, you should be prepared to answer such questions. The next one is not caring about your appearance. Please look good, always. And this one is not only about your how you look like, but also about your video quality, internet quality, sound quality. It may be minor thing and people will not notice it, but I think you also can agree when you cannot hear a person properly and you need to ask him two more times or something like this. It could be a little bit annoying, and maybe it will not reflect on the results, but for like it's a human, behavior that you, if you like something, you will most likely, like by appearance, you will most likely to say this person yes. And maybe this point it was also about your background. So please prepare your setup like from scratch and make sure that everything that person hear from you on the interview and see, it's what you want to present, even from the camera. The next one is focusing on personal benefits instead of adding value to the company. I think this point comes to the late stage of interview when recruiter asks you, like, do you have any questions? And you can ask them what kind of benefits they have, how many day offs you can have or something like this. But I would recommend instead of this asking like how I can contribute to the company. Thinking in this way will help you to show that you are really interested in company and you want to feel this position and do what is required to do, and be this person they are looking for, because usually positions open for a specific reason. For example, they need to do some work, and if you can do this work, that's great. Not asking for a feedback. To be honest, this part is kind of tricky, because I would recommend ask for a detailed feedback after each interview. But sometimes they can give you a feedback and you will be kind of disappointed and dismotivated, because they will point out what they saw. And it could be a really subjective thing, but you should be you should be not really emotional in these feedbacks and be with a cold head, because this is how they saw you. And maybe even if you disagree with this feedback, maybe there are something that you can learn from this feedback. Not being unique and creative. This is kind of interesting thing, because what I mean by this, sometimes we just apply as like everybody do, go into LinkedIn, press apply, and that's all. But as I already told, in my experience, LinkedIn usually filter by something. Recruiters don't have enough, like a lot of time to view each CV individually. They have only like some 15 seconds to understand if they like it or not. So like your CV is not really represent who you are as a person. But if, for example, you made a contact on a conference like this, for example, and ask for reference from your friends, or maybe message recruiter directly, it would be a way better to stand out from a crowd, you know. What else I did to be unique? I also sent a thank you letter after the interview, because I think it's some kind of like necessary. And what feedback I heard, that not all people do that, and you can be the only one who sent this feedback, and they were like, oh. But also about thank you letter, it's interesting because they can never read it, they can ignore it, and you should do it like really a lot, because you will have a lot of interviews. And the last thing is to view the job search as an adventure and don't take rejections personally. So don't get emotionally into position before you receive an offer, because usually it's not only about you, but also about you matching to this position. Sometimes I also made some rejections to a company if I was feeling that it's not my place. And they also have you have a right to choose, they have a right to choose. So that's kind of work in both directions, you know. And what else I want to say here? Yeah, and instead of like caring too much, take it as an adventure, as a game, I don't know, like to improve your skills, to maybe meet interesting people, because during my job search journey, I meet a lot of interesting people, I connect with them, and even if you didn't receive an offer, it's not that bad. It's like you're not losing anything, because you don't have this job yet, so it should be an opportunity to you to, I don't know, to expand your horizons and understand where you stand on the market. because they will give you a feedback. You will understand what kind of questions they asked. And I wish all of you good luck who is looking for a job right now. And I know that market is not really good right now, but if you would be creative, I know that you will have a really good results. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
I think we're gonna take one question from the audience. Anastasiia, one question. Time for one. I think they're in the back.
So you mentioned your submissions being apparently filtered by LinkedIn, and I kind of wonder, are you under the impression, like I sometimes am these days, that we are not just battling, recruiters' limited time resources, but also increasingly layers of AI/ML models that are, I don't know, ghosting us? Like, is it even people anymore? So it's it's a loose thought, but I'm not asking for any tips on how to defeat the bots, because clearly you're at a loss too as regards that. But like, I don't know, do you kind of share this impression? Are we I don't know, being sucked into some black hole by automated filtering mechanisms?
Yeah, regarding artificial intelligence, I would say that I have one interview with AI. It was a 20 minutes interview, and it asked me questions, but it was funny because I'm a front-end developer, and 10 minutes from 20, it asked me questions about testing. So, but I still somehow managed to get a positive result from this. But I would say it was not a company, a product company or something like this. It was kind of, I don't know, a marketplace or something like this, similar to Upwork, or so they try to sell you after you pass this interview, they try to sell you to another companies, something like this.
Okay, so dystopian hellscape, I get the picture. Thanks. That's really interesting view. I haven't had that yet.
And thanks again. I think I like the part where you said you have to be unique, and we always apply to things. We don't really have a system. We just kind of throw our CVs out there. So I think that is takes commendation. So thanks for reminding us. I think no matter what we're doing, that a little bit of uniqueness and care goes a long way. Look, thanks again. Round of applause, Anastasiia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, sorry, I just want to add one thing to the question there. Yeah, there is an AI, and all our CVs are being searched for keywords. So when you look for a job, you really need to make sure, first Google which AIs are actually checking your CV. Especially in LinkedIn, there is a specific one. And you can check also how to optimize your CV for those searches and how to add all the correct keywords and stuff.
Are you trying to tell me there's someone listening and watching us at this point in time?
100%. We have 20, 30, 100 mobile phones here.
So I know we have more to discuss, and I'm pretty sure that at least two of you might be a little bit hungry. And now pizza is here through the corridor. We're going to have short break. Well, not short break. I think roughly around 45 minutes, something in this, until all the pizza's gone. We're going to have more talks here. So there's a second part. So please enjoy the pizza. Smacznego.
One.
On? Is this on? Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you can please find your wonderful seats again. You can sit somewhere else, but we have 2 more cool chats to listen to. I think this has to be louder, yeah? And I love how this is like happening, the discussion, the exchange, but we have still some pretty cool, oh, there we go. Now I can hear myself. Whoa, that's loud. But you could hear me the whole time. All right, welcome back, everybody. You can slowly find your seats, find a new seat. How's the pizza? Good? Very good, okay. All right, folks, gonna start our next round. And we have 1 more presentation, rather 2 more presentations. So we're just, please find your seats or get comfortable. Hopefully everyone got some pizza and refreshments. And we're going to be continuing now with Michał Korolev, if he's in the room. There he is. Hey, all right. Let's give him a big round of applause. Michał, yes.
Do we have
So
the stuff on? Oh, hello.
Everything's on. You need a particular presentation.
Well, yeah. I mean, I cannot talk about
That's
this
not
thing.
enough for you?
No,
Let's
no,
go
no.
isn't enough?
I mean, it's a nice font.
But what more do you need? All right, but to be honest, I need Piotr here for this. Oh, wait, maybe I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Where
we
is it? Where is it?
prematurely
Where is it?
started this thing. We should have prepared, right?
Where is this? Is this one yours?
Yes, it looks like it. This one.
This one, huh?
Yeah.
They're all
All off. So that's just me. It's just my aura. Okay, that's in Polish. I think that's the demonstration. Yeah. Boom, boom. All right. Lovely. Hello, WarsawJS. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Whoa. Looks like everyone had enough pizza. If you fit enough pizza and beer and all the things, like whatever floats your boat. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about front-end tools. That's stuff like bundling, compiling, transpiling, whatever else. You cannot escape it in the modern front-end world. And this is going to be a small history lesson on how we got to what we have right now in the ecosystem. And yeah, that's my name. Unfortunately, like I just learned that I'll be speaking 3 hours ago. So I no longer work here. You can disregard this place. And before, the corporate office would call me and say, oh, you have to say that everything you say in this talk is of your own and own opinion, does not represent an opinion of the company. But good news is that now I no longer have to say that. I no longer work there. Woo! Anyway, by the way, I'm up for hire. I am cursed. Whichever team I join in any company, I end up working in, debugging, bundlers, looking at, bundle analyzers, debugging performance and stuff like this. And with this particular talk, I'm also cursed because the last time I did this talk, I broke both of my hands and I had to perform it like this. But anyway, let's go back to the very beginning. Is this audio a bit echoey, just for me? Fixed? All good? I think they're off. Small technical break. Well, yeah, you can't have it. It's off. All right. Anyway, let's go back to the very beginning, but hello? Okay. But not this far. Not this far. Yeah, the prehistory. And at the beginning, there was Web 1.0. It was as beautiful and that was simple. You had just HTML and maybe a bit of CSS now and there. Then in 1994, this guy gets tasked like, hey, can you create a language that will add some sort of interactivity to our web pages? And by the way, you have 1 week. And he was like, yeah, and this is how JavaScript was born. And in the next era-ish, we have the ancient history. This is where the Internet Explorer is dominating the browser market. And we have the Web 2.0, and all the logotypes are now shiny. We have interactive websites that are able to, we have stuff like Ajax, which is now you are able to update the content of the page without reloading it, which is magical. And we have jQuery. jQuery comes to save the day in the browser wars, if you remember this. And naturally, as in any historical period, then we have the Renaissance. And if you asked me, let's say in something like 2010, 2012, like, hey, what do I need to learn in order to become, a front-end engineer, a client-side developer? I would say, oh, it's really easy. For styling, we have stuff like Sass, less stylus, CSS and JS just came out, CSS modules. Oh, by the way, no one uses JavaScript. You need to have CoffeeScript, Flow, LiveScript, Hegel, TypeScript, BriefScript, ReasonML. There's a bunch of stuff. Oh, yeah, you need to somehow run and bundle all this stuff. We have Bower, Gulp, Gunt, NPM, Yarn, Babel, and yeah, you need to test this stuff. You need to, there's just so much stuff. And all of this is really complicated and big and bloated and yada, yada, yada. If you remember this pain, you remember this pain. Anyway, and all of this runs on your very own miserable computer. You start up a new project, you run NPM, whatever, and it just explodes. It's so slow. And if it's not running on your computer, it is, of course, running in the cloud, aka someone else's computer. And it costs money, of course. Right, let's take a look at typical-ish 2020 front-end release pipeline. Anyone here still uses Webpack? Just 3 hands, that's four-ish hands. That's.
People don't know they use. It's just under the hood.
Oh, okay, we are that upper level. All right, anyway. Webpack is a tool, right, whatever. Let's take a look at the typical 2020-ish front-end release pipeline. That all starts with the code change. Let's say we create a pull request to change our code. First of all, we perform type checks. We use TypeScript as good developers should. We perform type checks and generate type definitions. After that, we take our code and transform it into a target output. This is where tools like Babel would come in, and they would transform modern JavaScript without the TypeScript into something that runs in all the browsers that we want to cover. Then we run bundle reliant tests, like end-to-end tests, let's say. And of course, we need to test stuff. We have test code, which is, of course, TypeScript tests. They need to be transpiled to JavaScript, then be run. Then we have some sort of linter. And if everything is green, we can deliver our code change to CDN. All good. Let's take a look at now an app that I used to work in 3 to 4 years ago. It's a big monorepo app. It's around 1.5 million lines of code. And the first step, which is just running TypeScript and emitting type declarations, was 3.5 minutes. Transforming the entire app took 6.5 minutes. Transforming tests was 4 minutes. Running tests, we had a lot of tests. There was 45 minutes. And code quality and lint could take up to 15 minutes. And the end-to-end test, which is the whole user flow and application spun up and done, that was like 1 hour. All right. Then let's talk about the modern history. This is why we are all here. And I'm not sure what about you, but I'm super excited about everything there is now and what's to come, but more on that later. Anyway, so all of those tools that we have or used to have right now were written in JavaScript by JavaScript developers. I'm not saying that those are bad tools, bad language, or bad developers. These are brilliant engineers. We're standing on the shoulder of giants. But just somehow down the line where we realize that, oh, it just does not scale. JavaScript on a bigger scale is slow for how we use it. Maybe we just are not good enough as engineers. Anyway, but some people realized, what if we just take the same stuff that we have right now and just rewrite it in a language that is just marginally faster? It's a language that compiles to native binaries, and it's faster. Right. Anyway, this is my fictional division of tools that you will not find anywhere on the internet, hopefully. So I would divide everything that we run in our code code base into 2 parts. That's going to be conventional tools, which is stuff like Webpack or Vite that just calls all the other tools sequentially, maybe NPM runners or whatever. And foundational tools. This is something that are individual kind of binaries that you run. Tools like ESLint or Babel. We run them separately, right? Let's talk about foundational tools of the new era. First, we have the 2 big brothers. And these were developed by roughly at the same time. This is where there was a COVID pandemic, and all the cracked engineers were locked at home. They had nothing to do. They just rewrote the good stuff in, well, we'll talk about later. Anyway, SVC, which is Speedy Web Compiler. It's a really stupid name, in my opinion, but it's a really nice tool. It's written in Rust by Dong-Yoon Kang. It is very fast. It can bundle with some limitations. It can minify code, and it is developed in a way that is more open to feedback and community focused. So let's say like if you open a PR, if something is wrong, you open a PR and say, oh, I want to fix this, and it will be accepted or denied. And then there is ESBuild, which is ECMAScript builder, and it's written in Go by Evan Wallace. It is fast, can bundle with some limitations, can minify it, but it's more a single person focused. So this guy just says like, oh, I want to have a fast bundler and minifier and compiler. I will just build it for myself. And if you don't like how it works, well, good luck. I'm not accepting or your changes, your opinions don't matter. So I guess like those are the benchmarks that are from, I think, at this point, they're like 5 years old. So it's pretty old. But they're just here to show the orders of magnitude, how much ESBuild, SVC are faster than just TypeScript and Babel, which is insane. The amount of time saved that you can have is incredible. Right. So this is the slide again from, because everything is in JavaScript ecosystem is moving really fast. And it's this third time I'm doing this talk. And I don't have the time to update the slides because everything is changing. Anyway, so these were the 3 points of those 2 tools that were kind of downsides, right? So there is never this existing community support for problem solving, extending this stuff because everything is new. No one knows how to solve problems. And they cannot, both of those tools cannot bundle reliably. It just doesn't work yet. And the benefits of adoption. So, oh, I need to change my code somehow so it can be bundled by these beautiful tools in hundreds of times faster. It might be not comparable to the effort. But now, there's probably just one problem left, that still bundling is a hard problem and is still not solved in those 2 tools. Right, anyway. In the app I mentioned previously, what we did is we replaced Babel with SVC. And what we got is 6.5 minutes down to just 2 minutes, which is 3 times improvement. Then transforming test code to target output is now 3 seconds, which is insane. And yeah, it got marginally faster. Just by, basically, it was a drag and drop replacement almost. Anyway, let's talk about the next foundational tool, which is Lightning CSS. If you use something like new CSS syntax, if you use Sass or if you use less, you probably use something like autoprefixer or post CSS. And this is that, but faster, written in Rust by someone I will mention later. Anyway, and of course, if you're using something like Tailwind or Next.js, I think this is an old Next.js logo, and I hope Vercel will not sue me. You're already using Lightning CSS if you're using Tailwind or Next.js, most likely. And all right. Now, this little thing is JavaScript oxidation compiler. And for now, it is just a linter. I'm just going to show this benchmark here, and I'm going to come to this back later again. Yeah, you can see it's crazy fast. Right. Now, conventional tools of the new era. The big engine combiners that combine everything. Anyone knows what it is? Yes, Vite. This was the first revolution of in the bundling world because, yeah, anyone knows how Vite works and how it's different from Webpack? No? Well, exactly. Yeah. Just a quick, this is an ugly picture from the Vite docs. And this is your traditional development server for something like Webpack. You start bundling, then the module crawler goes all around your module tree and just compiles everything. Then you have a bundle, and then your web server is ready. But with Vite, the server is ready as soon as you type the command, and it goes only to the modules that are requested. It bundles as soon as you request something, which is crazy. And I'm going to show a small demo here. Hope it works. Oh, yeah, of course. And you're going to ask, what about the new modules? like you don't bundle them at runtime, and the new modules are bundled in advance by ESBuild. That's what makes it really fast. Anyway, okay, there's still no demo. Sorry, it's been a while since I did this talk. Anyway, so the Vite is currently still using rollup under the hood when you are doing production bundle. This is how you can escape those problems I mentioned before, that in production, we still don't have a reliable way of bundling in the same way that we did before. So bundle could be slightly bigger, slightly different. The minification could be different. The tree shaking might not work or something else. This is why when you're doing a production build with Vite, it's still using rollup, which is a battle-tested bundling solution. And yeah, the developer experience is crazy good that I will demonstrate in just a second. Yeah. So as I was saying, on the left, Vite is already done, and Webpack is still compiling. This is just a random app that I picked up. It was using Webpack by default, and I just converted to Vite quickly to demonstrate. It's crazy how good it is. Yeah. Now, next thing, when I was doing this talk for the last time, this just came out. So this is an RSPack, which is a one-to-one port of Webpack written in Rust, which is insane, which means that you can just take your Webpack, convert it, replace the binary with this, and it will just be faster, right? And it has a whole set of tools like RSBuild for libraries, bundle analyzers for design systems, whole set of tools. Since then, I didn't have the time to explore it, but I met a person who made it, who was a team leader for RSPack on the conference, and now I can't wait to try it in something else. Anyway, let's plug RSPack into our actually real app that we did that too. So the bundling, the transforming the source code and bundling from 6.5 minutes, we got down to 20 seconds. This is, again, 3 seconds, and yeah, so it's already gotten so much faster. Right. Now, you might, this is Parcel. Anyone ever used Parcel? This is like yes, Parcel team, good. I really love Parcel. This was the only thing like, oh, I don't know how to set a Webpack. What do I use? Yeah, just use this. It works out of the box. You don't have to set anything up. And you ask me, why is it here? It's not new, it's old. And these guys were like, yeah, we don't want to jump onto bandwagon of fast stuff. So what they did is first, they developed Lightning CSS. Lightning CSS is developed by people from Parcel, and they use SVC as a plugin, is the replacement for Babel, basically. So right now, if you want something that is very fast and works just out of the box, you can use Parcel. Now, the fun stuff, this is roll down. This is called roll down, and this is, as you might have guessed, fast Rust rewritten roll up. So it used to be roll up, and they are rewriting it to be roll down in Rust. And why? That is because, as I said earlier, Vite is using roll up under the hood. And what they want to make is their own version of rollup, which is, of course, going to be open source, and it's going to be fast. Yeah, written in Rust. Still, I think this is the slide from September, and it's no longer early in development. Now you can actually touch it and use it and run it, and it works. And yeah, and build with OXC, this is what I mentioned before, that, oh, wait. Okay, I think I'm going to talk about this later. Anyway, and this is the Vercel dream. Anyone knows what it is as well? Yeah, that's TurboPack. And this is something that we got. It is a dream of Vercel that they tried to sell us for a long time, but it's still nowhere to be seen. You can kind of see it in Next.js. You can use it in Next.js, but it's like, yeah, we don't know how it works. But the basis and the concept is that you cache stuff. You do less work, and you save more time by caching output of like singular functions and files. And if you say like, okay, this file is compiled and has the same output, we'll keep working on it. So it is long and complicated history, and I don't even want to sell it to you. But what I want to sell it to you is, yes, but I don't know how this is related. It's not actually ROM tools, it's Biome. It is also a long and complicated scandal in the JavaScript ecosystem family because it was set to do bundling, compiling, documentation generation, formatting, linting, and so much more. minification, of course, yes, type checking. Everything has to be there, but now it is just code formatting, nothing else. Why is that? Okay, let me tell you why I'm so invested in this dream, the biome dream. Let's see how, like, what do we do for the majority of our ecosystem runs, code base runs. So for everything that I will divide everything in like 3 categories. So code enhancement, that's TypeScript or transforming JSX, for example, to JavaScript. Code quality, that's ESLint and Prettier, for example. And code delivery, which is bundling and minification. It's going to be Webpack and Cursor. So all of those tools roughly do the same 3 things. First thing we do is we parse the AST, we transform the text into abstract syntax tree, which is how we make, we are able to perform operations and transforms on it. After that, we do some kind of calculations on the AST that we've generated. So we check if it's a valid syntax, if it's the right formatting, we detect assets and traverse the module tree. And then the result, we do whatever we do. It's file or pass, produce bundle, whatever. Can anyone spot here is the thing that we might want to improve? Yes, sir. Exactly. This is the dream of Biome. One AST for everything that saves up at least 4 times, but probably much more time than that. That if we have one united AST to rule them all, the world would have been so much better. Right, yeah, so code formatting for Biome. Let's take a look. Going back to our real imaginary application, we've replaced our up to 15 minutes running of ESLint and Prettier to 10 seconds. Look at that. That's insane. Anyway, with all those tools that we have, why do we still live like a renaissance? Why do we still burn our resources and sanity on old stuff? It's up to you. Anyway, so we got down from 25.5 minutes to 33 seconds in total of our entire application. And that is, it sounds impressive, but in reality, it's 46 times faster, 750 minutes per day, 375 hours per month, per year. So it's roughly $2,000 saved per year, which is nothing for most big companies, right? But what is priceless is developer sanity and happiness. This is much harder to calculate, and this is what we want to save by upgrading all this stuff, right? Anyway, the Biome dream, since the company lost funding at some point and now are slowly picking up pace with being fully open source and unpaid, but the dream lives on because Vite, and as I mentioned before, the roll down and OXC, which is, I said, just a linter, now they want to expand. So OXC is not just a linter, it's a tool that produces that one AST. And it can also do, like, it generates AST, and then it does the code formatting and linting. This, oh yeah, I've just said that. Why is it even here? Yeah, it's resolver, minifier, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to power roll down. It already powers roll down. And roll down is powering Vite. I know I'm sounding like an insane person with this. There's a meme of a guy showing up stuff. Right, so the ES build and rollup are going away from Vite, and everything now is on OXC and roll down. Everything is fast, and this is the dream of Biome, because now formatting and linting is going to be shared. The AST format is going to be shared between bundling and linting. And this is all going to be in Vite. And how do I know it? Now it's not a surprise, actually, because it's already revealed. But I asked, oh, no, it's not here. Anyway, I asked the guy who is developing OXC compilers. He told me this, and there was a huge reveal in the conference. Anyway, the future. Let's talk about the future. Potential speculations, whatever else. Why do we build and bundle in general? Why do we need that? And because browsers do not understand the code that we want to write. They don't understand TypeScript. They don't understand a lot of cool new syntax. And network overhead is a thing. If there's this there's a person who's preaching the no build. Oh, yeah, there's a slide on it in the future. I keep saying that. Yeah, cache and invalidation is hard. If you just have your normal JavaScript files and with no hashes, nothing like this, you could have a hard time by your bundle being cached in the client. Anyway, we might have solutions to all those problems in the future. So like when the first time I did this talk, I tried to I generated all the images with I think it was Midjourney at that time. It was really shitty. It was just when it appeared. But now I tried really hard to generate a person with 3 arms, and it was just always giving me 2 arms instead of 3. So I'm proud of myself. Anyway, import maps. This is already implemented, so you can already use it. It's not such a distant future because it's already available. And for those who don't know, is the code you would write usually in your day of work. You would import something from a thing. But if you put this into ES module and give it to the browser would never understand what is leftpad, what is deep equal, where are those files? How do I get those modules? And this is why we have import maps that are say if you're importing from leftpad, you're importing from this file. And this is how you can have stuff like this in the browser without bundling. And this can also be used to control hashes, to selectively invalidate several files in a bundle. And this is really powerful. And there is a person, as I said, called GHH, who is preaching the no-build dream. And if you want to live the no-build dream, you can set up the latest Ruby on Rails, and you're going to have no-build dream by default. But it's not that simple, because we have HTTP. HTTP has something there is a problem called head of the line blocking. This is a problem that we used to have in HTTP 1, where we could not stream several requests at the same time. But with HTTP 2, we can do that. But still, there is a problem. This problem comes from the TCP level, because TCP is really TCP has really strict congression control, and it says oh, this one packet is dropped. Let's wait until it's retransmitted and pause everything else. And we cannot get rid of that as long as we are using just our standard HTTP 2. But with something that people called HTTP 3 or quick, we are no longer going to have this problem. And this means that you can use just no bundle, straight up hundreds of JavaScript files going to be streamed to your device. Even if you change connection from Wi-Fi to mobile network, it's still going to not interrupt it. And this is amazing. I'm not a big network guy, so I can't really. You can Google it yourself, right? We don't have much time. Now, the big scary thing, TypeScript, is by the looks of it not going anywhere. And the same person who made SVC made that was what 2021 made an attempt to fix this, to actually take TypeScript runtime, TypeScript compiler, and rewrite it line by line in Go. This person is insane, I'm telling you. And of course, he never succeeded. And there was, this is the person who made OXC. I talked to him on Twitter in DMs, and he told me that he tried it, but the problem is just, it's a funding problem. It's just so much work, and no one is willing to invest into it that it's just never going to happen. So if you work in a big company who wants to sponsor this, please do. Right. Of course, then there is proposal type annotations. Let's have something like TypeScript in the browser. And that is the 4th most start proposal. It is stage 1, so it's years to be implemented in the browser. We'll never go, probably in the foreseeable future, we're never going to agree on how actually we want to have types in the browser. And it's really, of course, controversial and contested. People say, oh, no, you can't do this. You have to do it like this. And if you read the TC39 transcripts of the meetings, people argue for hours on how it should be done and never agree on anything. Anyway, and this is the one they had to write 2 hours ago by hand. Now, in Node.js, we already can leave this no TypeScript dream. If you run, I think it's a flag, experimental strip types, you can straight up run TypeScript files with Node.js with no extra setup and steps required, which is very good. That actually uses SWC under the hood. Right, so in the future, we will have no bundling and everything will be super fast. So we never know what's going to happen to TypeScript. Transform, nothing to transform, no bundle, and everything is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward for this bright future. And oh yeah, almost forgot. With all those fast tools that we have right now, and I know I already said that you should switch instantly, but please do not forget about the shoulders of the giants we're standing on. Please, if you have the time and the funds, please do support all the other things like Babel. They're doing the great foundational work. The Post CSS, the Webpack is still very important to keep afloat. Anyway, and with that in mind, I thank you for. I hope I didn't take that much time, and yeah, thank you. We have no time for questions, I guess, but.
I was just going to give you good news. We have plenty of, no, we have one question, one lucky question.
Wow.
There was an absolutely fast hand right here.
There was like a quick draw.
Wait for the box. You're going to get a box. You're going to blue box. No, over here. Front row, front row.
Person, yeah.
Who wanted?
Okay, so thanks for the talk. It was very interesting, really exciting news. Not all the tools I've heard about, so some of them are very popular, some at least maybe I haven't checked for a while. So yeah, really great. Thanks a lot. Just curious, so one of the slowest steps in your pipeline were tests. So
yes,
I mean, you were still optimizing for the build time, which was not as slow as tests. So I'm just also wondering why you didn't try maybe monorepo with like incremental builds where only affected things would be tested, builded, deployed, and so on, and maybe like micro front ends, but maybe not. Let's not touch.
That's a really good question. We used to have that. I mean, okay. So first thing first, I was working on a team that was responsible for all this infrastructure stuff, but I got fired, so I can't really tell you. There was an effort to, like, we did have incremental builds with the NX. So NX was responsible for figuring out what changed and only running those tests, but I didn't have the chance to finish it, so who knows?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Once again, big hand round of applause. Michał, I love.
Thank you.
Also, I think, someone who is here as a first timer, not the most into all the intricacies of JavaScript, I like a visual presentation. That was a really good one. So just my own little thank you for that. So we're coming towards the end here, but we have one more fantastic lightning round, lightning conversation, packed with information. And I believe it's coming from the front row right here. Artur, is that you? Did I see you correctly? Come on up here. Let's give him a hand. Come on, guys. Last but not least.
Thank you. So I would like to open. Can you hear me? Yes. Hi, my name is Artur. Yes, so this is a lightning talk. Yesterday, with a great colleague of me whom I have met here, we were talking yesterday over the phone about developing ourselves, especially in technical skills. And I would like to share some thoughts with you. So basically, yes, this is in Polish. Non-English speaking people, do you know what is this? We all know what is this. I mean, this is our brain. Yes, and let's go to English. So basically, our brain is a result of thousands of years of evolution. So we have, like, our genome forked from early humans. Like I think it's something between 700,000 years ago and 200,000 years ago, and we are. I think there are three ways of learning. If we would talk about machine learning, there is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And basically, I think we are creatures of reinforcement learning over those years. here there is a very interesting part, and it's called AM in its shortcut. You see, I will just. This is how. This is how we are being bubbled with information that So basically, this latter part is called AMCC, anterior mid-cingulate cortex, and this part basically might be responsible for keeping us alive. This part, there are researchers maybe claiming that this part is responsible for maintaining our willingness to live. And I'm sharing my thoughts because I have been observing myself for the last year, and I managed to keep myself in implementing over 200 super heavy, super hardcore tasks. And after this time, I can tell you that there is difference in how we are learning languages, not only spoken ones, but also technical ones. And there is a saying that if you will, you most probably all of us have heard this, that if you enjoy what you are doing, if you love what you are doing, you will not work a single day. We all know this saying. And this saying is true. This is true. We'll get back to this later. Unfortunately, I would like to tell you today that unfortunately, this is true in a way that we would like this to be true. So in Quentin Tarantino's life, I'll give you a quick story. In Quentin Tarantino's life, when he was 25, and he was working for, everybody here knows Quentin Tarantino, popular director and producer. When he was 25, he was working in video tapes, VHS, rental, studio or shop. And at some point he realized, he was talking with a colleague, and he was 25, his colleague was 30, and they were like, Quentin thought that they are having a great time, and his colleague told you that, Quentin, in 1 year from now, we won't even remember about each other. And basically, they were talking, and the point is that they weren't doing anything important, beneficial for both of them, because when they would change jobs, then basically all of the time spent together would be somehow lost. This is what Quentin realized, and the next day he spent. I'm basing this on one of the interviews with Quentin Tarantino. One of you during next days, he spent one night on planning or reorganizing all of his life, and basically. I would like to tell you that this part, which might be responsible for our willingness to live, develops only when we are putting effort. And in modern times, if you are, I don't want to use buzzwords like we have a very short span of attention and so on. In modern times, there is this, we all have this tendency, we enjoy most probably achieving something very fast. However, those researchers are showing over time that not being able to activate this part, and this part is activated only when we are struggling. like this tension, this, yeah, what I have another, like This part activates only when we are struggling. If you want to be, if you are coming here, then this already determines that you are, active. If you want to develop your brain, and this most probably we all want to do that because this influences everything around. You can't go for easy and you just can't. It's like you need to be aware of that. You can't take this away from, you need to keep remembering about that. And also there is yet another very interesting observation that there is distinction between whether we are forced to do something, because there are two conditions that this part of brain is activated. We need to struggle and we need to do it voluntarily. We can't be forced. And basically this is another point, that if you think that working hard on things that you are forced to do in your daily life, in your work, if you think that they are making you better technician, you might be wrong, and you need to find a goal and work on it from your. You need to power yourself with your own will. Otherwise, you won't be able to activate this part. And so, unfortunately. So those around more than 200 tasks, super hardcore tasks, I did after resigning from my job, which I was hoping to do for a very long time. And I can tell you that you can, if you do challenges for yourself voluntarily without being forced to, then you can achieve. You can understand a lot of things. They get arranged in your head. You need just to give your time. And as we are, it's easy to see how people are building their muscles. We have Mariusz Pudzianowski, which is the few times the strongest person on earth, actually. It's easy to see by looking at people how they are growing their muscles, but we can't see that if we look at somebody else, brain. But this is important. We need to, if you want to develop. There are such a wonderful talks here on WarsawJS. Stay focused. You are coming here voluntarily. Get this knowledge and have fun. And have fun while working. This is basically based. This is, by the way. Most of the things that I have told you here is from interview with Andreas Hübner or something like, I can't recall the name. And basically, I would like to tell you, recap. There are two things you need to do in order to develop your brain. You need to struggle, and you need to do it voluntarily. And this saying, so I will be wrapping up. I will wrap this up with referring to this saying, to this first saying, that if you love what you are doing, then you won't work, a single hour in your life. This is true, because actually you won't struggle. This makes this equation to this zeros this formula. And if we want to develop, then we need to consistently remember to, from time to time, make us do this one more exercise, or to spend this 15 minutes more on something, so that we know that it's already out of our comfort zone. So this is not about only psychological safety and health, staying healthy, but it is also about survival. Thank you very much, and I hope you will have great time learning. Yeah, great. Yeah, let's finish this out with have a great time struggling. Yeah, thank you.
More surprises you have in your presentation? No? Say one. Okay. We've got a question. One more question. Sorry, you're going to still stay up here, because I think one more last chance here. It's the last session before we close. Are there any more final questions for Artur? Yes, over here.
Could you tell us more about these 200 hard things you did?
Yes. So we were talking. How much time do we have? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? I have written my. There's another question. Yeah. So I will keep it. I have written down my own debundler. So I basically reversed in. No, this is not important. This is not true actually. I managed to debundle bundles which are in your applications. I managed to extend one of tools which I have been presenting here, which I called Wire Visual Reverse Engineering tools. I have rewritten this 17 times. I have so few versions, yeah, actually. So so actually, thanks to Piotr, I was also able to experiment a little bit with Strapi, which is, and also like 6 of different implementations which I consider in those 200 actually are in Strapi. So I have been patching Strapi in runtime while debugging. I have been building even my own debugger, which I have. This is very hard to explain, and also I have been spending a lot of time on debugging TypeScript running on production, having 2 separate processes. This is actually the best time to improve your developer performance, and any AI won't help you with that as long as Devin is not true. Basically, you should, when you are building huge project, when you are developing, pay attention that you can transpile your TypeScript project and have NodeMon or anything else like Dino or something, running your runtime, like your transpiled code. Multiple visualization tools, a lot of import maps playing with. I had to patch or mock actually React implementations because I was also playing with embedding React in Vue, Vue in React. I have done. Okay, this is like also a lot of things in Vue, mounting extensions in runtime in Vue 3, which is not that easy. I think we will be. So we have New Year, at least in our calendar, and yeah, maybe we will be sharing this. I have been recently not talking that much here on WarsawJS as usually. Maybe I should change to writing blog posts so that you can learn offline, not only being here. Okay, do you have any more questions?
I think, unfortunately, we've gotten the secret coding signal that no more questions. So yeah, but a pleasure. I'm sure this is not your last time here, Artur. We're going to have you back. With more suspenseful tricks around. Watch out. Okay, thank you so much. Again, once more, round of applause. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come almost to the end. Almost, but not quite. Because now it's my turn, and I've planned a long presentation, at least 35 minutes. I'm joking. No. So let's give one more hand. I know that it's maybe cheesy, but all the volunteers, all the people behind this, to yourselves here who are watching online, everyone who's here and attended, thank you so much for coming. Really, really wonderful. But we're not here rather for the final send-off. We've still got a little bit of a mystery. Now, if you take this QR code, there's something very unique about it because it's I've been told, a very special QR code. There's only one like it. So, find out what it is. Get out your phones. Come on. Everybody out. I know everyone's got at least one. And see what you can. It only works if you scan it. It only works if you scan. You'll find the mystery in the QR code. Yeah? Okay. Oh, there is. You don't have a smartphone? You can use mine. No, we checked that. We checked that it works. So basically, jokes aside, this is a survey. We improve from your feedback. It's really important, really vital that you tell us what you like, what you didn't like. It's really like gold for us. So please, please, please find the time to take it, to send that. Here's the QR code, but it's a special QR code, right? I think it's something unique. So take a moment for that. And of course, WarsawJS does not stop here. It continues on online, Slack groups, workshops, this community, new friendships made. And I know that there's another one coming up in the very, very near future. So we're also going to be looking at that in a second. So, well, let's go on. And, these are our speakers that are coming to the next. Drum roll, please. Yes, the next WarsawJS on February 12th. Mark your calendars, get it in there. Awesome new speakers about different things. We've got Zuzia Kwiatkowska, Jakub Pawlak, and Krzysztof Moszyński, and perhaps many, many more. You'll have to come and check it out. And of course, all of you and the community is going to be there, so you don't want to miss it. Put it on your calendars. Right, and if you scan this one, this is going to be a discount for it. It's early bird. Early bird catches the worm, as the wonderful saying goes. So there might be a little bit of discount for you if you sign up now, purchase those tickets. That might be something you want to consider. There's a QR code. That's the theme here, QR codes. And why not? While you're doing that, let's think ahead. Some of us are working, some of us are students, some of us maybe in between jobs. I'm not going to ask, but why not plan ahead? Why not get a bit of a discount for the whole year? Wow, what an idea that is. If you're budgeting, maybe this is an idea. So here you go. Here's a scan. Think about it. One round price, 420 is what? What is that? That's like an app a day, coffee a day or something. I don't know. Right? It's not that much. So why not do that? And it really helps out. And this is a nonprofit, guys. This goes back into the community. This goes back, to keep the lights on, stuff like that. But really consider it. And before we all go as well, really important to get everyone on the stage. I think it's time for a picture. I think that's really important, Piotr, right? Got a lot of photogenic people here. So I just invite everyone, especially speakers, come on here so we can take a nice big group picture.
First slide, I think.
First slide, sure. Well, guys, thanks again. Thank you so much. See you next time. And I think we're going to close up here in the next sort of 15 minutes. So thanks a lot. See you next time.